church family, welcome back to another Word in Review. I'm Ari from Faith Dimensions Ministries Church in Wolverton, and as usual I'm just going to be breaking down what I took from the Word on Sunday. Now we're finishing off the series Our Weapons of Choice, and the scripture from Sunday, or the two scriptures from Sunday, were taken from 1 Samuel 13 verse 22 and 1 Samuel 14 verse 6. And of course, I'll just quickly read them. 1 Samuel 13 verse 22 in NIV says, "So on the day of the battle, not a soldier with Saul and Jonathan had a sword or spear in his hand. Only Saul and his son Jonathan had them." And then 1 Samuel 14 verse 6 says, "Jonathan said to his young armor bearer, 'Come, let's go over to the outpost of those uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will act in our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few.'" What I really want to highlight as what stood out to me is definitely the second verse of scripture that Pastor referenced, and that was 1 Samuel 14 verse 6. I also want to read it in NKJV, and I just want to highlight a particular sentence where Jonathan says, "It may be that the Lord will work for us." In NIV, it said, "Perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf." What I really wanted to take away from this is the significance of the fact that clearly Jonathan wasn't actually sure what exactly was going to happen when he entered the camp of the Philistines. A bit of background context, the Philistines were really oppressing the people of Israel, hence why it said that only Saul and Jonathan had actual spears. The rest of the people of Israel didn't have actual proper weapons because the Philistines had so oppressed them to the point where they actually couldn't own any of that. What's so valuable is Jonathan had such trust in the Lord that he was willing to take himself into the enemy's camp and see what the Lord would do. And I think what I took away from that is, what will it take for us to take a chance on the Lord? Sometimes the Lord might have us in situations where we appear outnumbered. And I think the value of being in those situations is that in those situations is where we learn how dependent we are on the Lord, how faithful he is to deliver us, and ultimately he gets the glory from all of that. A couple of stories, and I think Pastor referenced this as well, that kind of highlight this same point. Pastor mentioned the story of Elisha with his servant, where the servant, was afraid because they saw all the chariots before them, and Elisha said something so life-changing, and he just said that those that are with us are more than those that are with them. Or he said it the other way around, but he essentially said that asked the Lord to open the eyes of his servant so he could see the heavenly backing essentially that they had against those who had come to attack them. Another story I think about is the story of Gideon, where the Lord reduced the number of the army to so few that it was impossible for them to win without giving credit to the Lord Almighty. And so again, to reiterate that point, sometimes the Lord might have us in situations where we feel, where our perception is, where it looks like we are outnumbered. And it's in those situations that God gets the most glory, because if we have all the resources we need, if we have everything that we think we need, we would think it was in our own power, in our own strength, in our own resources that we were able to succeed or to be victorious. The other part of this that kind of refers mainly back to the main point of the service, which was the faithful armor bearer's point, is when we look at the character of Jonathan's armor bearer, the armor bearer was willing to go with Jonathan into the Philistines' camp. And I think the main question that comes out of this, the whole underlying point of faithful armor bearers, which was in essentially the subtitle, or at least the main reference from this scripture: who do you have with you? Who do you have standing with you? Who do you have praying with you? Who do you have fighting with you? We've heard pastors say, and we hear it time and time again, who you associate with is so valuable and so critical to whether you fail or whether you succeed. So a question we should all be asking ourselves is, who do we have in our corner? Yes, we have the Lord. Yes, we have God. And yes, the Lord is in control. But who do we have that is helping us to continue in that belief? Who do we have who is edifying and supporting and uplifting helping us in the trust that we have in the Lord, because people can either pull you away from the Lord or draw you closer to him. And so we have to evaluate in our immediate circle, in our sphere of influence, who do we have? Are the people around us pushing us towards the Lord, helping us to take chances on the Lord, helping us to believe in the Lord, or pulling us away, making us afraid, making us realize we don't have the weapons we think we need? And without going on for too long, I think those are the two main points that really stuck out to me, and I hope also blessed you. There was so much in there. I'm sure many people got different things, but I hope this has blessed you. And as always, worth re-listening or rereading the scriptures, rereading other stories like the story of Elisha, the story of Gideon, just to understand how much we are in the protection and in the keeping of the Lord. So be encouraged. Even though it might look like you are outnumbered, those are the situations in which the Lord gets the most glory. God bless you. Have a great week, and hope to see you all on Sunday.